Let me take you back to the moment my life unraveled, piece by excruciating piece. For over a year and a half, I had been the invisible backbone of our little family unit, paying rent, buying groceries, covering utilities, all while Alina, my older sister, figured things out. That's what she said when she lost her job. I just need time. Time turned into months, then a year, then more. And through it all, I convinced myself that this was okay because family is supposed to help each other, right? Wrong. At first, it seemed harmless enough. She'd ask for small things, a few dollars here, help with bills there. But soon, those requests became demands, and before I knew it, I was drowning in responsibilities that weren't mine to bear. Then came the red flags. One day, I noticed a brand new designer handbag sitting on her bed, a bag worth more than my monthly rent. When I asked where it came from, she brushed me off with a laugh, saying, "Don't worry about it." A week later, she showed up driving a sleek leased car, acting as if she were some kind of celebrity. My stomach churned every time I saw her flaunting these luxuries while I was skipping meals just to keep us afloat. But nothing prepared me for the bombshell that hit one cold Tuesday morning. The phone rang, jolting me awake. It was the bank. My account, my hard-earned money, had been frozen due to an overdue credit card debt I didn't even know existed. Panic surged through me like wildfire. How could this happen? After hours on the phone, the truth came crashing down. Alina had stolen my identity. Using my social security number, she opened a credit card under my name and racked up over $6,400 in charges. Sephora splurges, spa retreats, expensive electronics. It was all there, mocking me in black and white. Every purchase felt like another dagger twisting into my chest. That night, as I sat alone in the dim light of the kitchen, staring at the stack of bills and bank statements, something inside me broke. This wasn't just financial betrayal, it was personal. My own flesh and blood had reduced me to a walking ATM, treating my generosity as a weakness to exploit. I realized then that I wasn't helping her, I was enabling her. And now, I was paying the price, not just financially but emotionally. The trust one once held so dear was shattered beyond repair. The night of betrayal unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. Alina, with her practiced charm and calculated words, had already planted the seeds of doubt in our parents' minds. "He's just squatting here," she said casually, as if my presence in the apartment I'd been paying for was some kind of trespass. Her tone wasn't defensive, it was dismissive, as though reducing me to a tenant was simply stating a fact. She didn't even look at me when she spoke. Instead, she fluffed her curls in the mirror, grabbed her coat, and walked out without another word. But the real blow came later that evening. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, a text from Dad. "Thanks for existing. Don't come." 6 cold words, devoid of explanation or warmth, delivered like a final verdict. I stared at the screen, blinking slowly, hoping the message would morph into something less cruel. It didn't. Minutes later, Mom sent a photo, our family dinner table, filled with laughter and joy. Everyone was there, smiling brightly, except me. The image hit like a punch to the gut. They weren't just excluding me. They were erasing me, treating me as though I didn't exist beyond being a financial burden. That night, sleep eluded me. I sat alone in the dim glow of the living room light, replaying their messages in my mind. How could they believe Alina's lies so easily? And how could they reduce me, a son who had sacrificed everything, to a stranger? Anger simmered beneath my skin, but it wasn't until the next morning that things spiraled further. Determined to reclaim control, I decided to change the locks. As I rummaged through the hallway closet for tools, I noticed something odd tucked behind the air vent, a small black device. At first glance, it looked innocuous, but closer inspection revealed its true nature, a hidden camera. My blood ran cold. Alina hadn't just lied about me, she'd been watching me. Every move I made, every conversation I had in the privacy of my own home, she knew. Worse still, she must have seen me gathering evidence against her. The realization sent a shiver down my spine. This wasn't just betrayal, it was invasion, manipulation on a level I hadn't anticipated. I stood frozen for what felt like hours, clutching the camera in trembling hands. Suddenly, pieces clicked together. The way Alina always seemed one step ahead, the smug remarks she dropped whenever I confronted her. She wasn't just using my money. She was playing a game, turning my generosity into ammunition. The thought fueled a fire inside me, one that burned away any lingering guilt or hesitation. If Alina wanted a fight, she'd get one. But this time, I wouldn't play by her rules. The morning after Christmas, the apartment felt eerily quiet, too quiet. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee, waiting for the inevitable storm to arrive. When it did, it came with a fury that shook the walls. At precisely 8:17 a.m., the sound of keys jingling outside signaled Alina's return. She tried the lock twice, cursed under her breath, then began pounding on the door like she was determined to break it down. I didn't flinch. Instead, I opened the door slowly, revealing two neatly wrapped boxes sitting on the welcome mat. "What is this?" she snapped, glaring at me as if I'd just burned her favorite dress. Her eyes darted between the boxes, suspicion written all over her face. "And why can't I get in?" "You'll see," I said calmly, stepping aside. "Come in. You don't have keys anymore." She stormed past me, dropping the larger box onto the coffee table without a second glance. But when she picked up the smaller one, the one still vibrating faintly, her expression shifted from anger to confusion. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, shaking the box like it might explode. "A Christmas present," I replied, tilting my head. "You should open it." Her hands trembled slightly as she untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside was a printed copy of the credit card statement bearing her name scrawled across it in bold red marker, along with a flash drive labeled evidence. Her face went pale. "You're insane," she hissed, slamming the box shut. "This isn't funny." "Oh, it gets better," I said, crossing my arms. "That flash drive contains audio recordings of you bragging about how easy it is to manipulate me. Remember that time you told your friends, 'He deserves it. He's like a bank with no overdraft fees'? Yeah, that's on there too." Her lips parted, but before she could respond, the front door swung open again. Mike, her ex-boyfriend, stood there, holding a laptop already open to a video clip. His jaw was clenched, his knuckles white around the device. Without a word, he pressed play. The room fell deathly silent as Alina's voice filled the space. "He's so stupid, honestly. Why wouldn't I take advantage? He always feels guilty. I could burn down the apartment, and he'd still pay my phone bill." For a moment, Alina froze, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. Then, as reality crashed down on her, she exploded. "You recorded me? Are you seriously stalking me now?" she screamed, throwing the box across the room. It hit the wall with a thud, scattering its contents everywhere. She turned to Mike, her voice dripping with venom. "You're siding with him? After everything he's done to ruin my life?" Mike stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "Ruin your life? Alina, do you even realize what you've done? You used my identity too. 2 iPhones ordered last month, a hotel booked in my name. They called me yesterday demanding payment. Was that part of your plan too?" Alina stammered, her usual composure crumbling. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. You guys don't understand." "No," I interrupted, my voice cutting through hers like a blade. "We understand perfectly. You lied, manipulated, and stole from everyone who ever trusted you. And now, you want us to feel sorry for you? That's not how this works." The tension in the room was suffocating. Alina's eyes darted wildly between us, searching for an escape, but there was none. For the first time in her life, she had no script, no rehearsed tears, no audience to exploit. Just silence, and the weight of her own actions crashing down on her. Just when I thought the chaos couldn't escalate further, my grandmother stepped in like a force of nature. For months, Alina had been feeding her lies to Nana, claiming I was dramatic and ungrateful. So when Nana called out of the blue, I braced myself for another lecture. Instead, she said something that made my blood run cold. "I froze the savings bond account. Your father won't touch it again." Her voice was steady, unyielding. She didn't stop there. "And don't worry about the house," she added. "I've rewritten my will. Everything goes to you now." The fallout was immediate. My parents called me within hours, their voices laced with venom. "How dare you drag Nana into this?" Mom screamed, while Dad accused me of manipulating her. But Nana wasn't swayed by their theatrics. She revealed the truth. They'd cashed out over $9,000 from a savings bond created in my name, money meant for emergencies or future investments, and used it to pay off Alina's debts. The betrayal cut deeper than ever before. Then came Mike, whose quiet fury turned the tables entirely. Sitting across from me at the kitchen table, he slammed a folder onto the surface. Inside were documents proving Alina had forged his signature to open not one, but 3 fraudulent accounts under his name. His jaw tightened as he spoke. She didn't just ruin your life. She ruined mine too. Together, we decided to file a joint lawsuit, a move that would expose every layer of deception Alina had woven. Preparing the case became an obsession. Every late night spent sifting through bank statements, emails, and receipts felt cathartic. With Mike's evidence bolstering mine, the stakes grew higher. It wasn't just about reclaiming stolen money anymore. It was about justice. As we compiled the final pieces, I realized how much power comes from standing together. Alone, I might have faltered. But with allies like Mike and Nana, I no longer felt afraid. Our unity became Alina's undoing, and perhaps the beginning of my freedom. The courtroom felt like a pressure cooker, the air thick with tension. Alina sat beside her lawyer, dressed in beige as if auditioning for sympathy rather than facing justice. When her turn came to speak, she didn't hesitate. Tears streamed down her face as she painted me as the villain. He forced me into this, she sobbed, her voice trembling. He controlled everything, my life, my choices. I had no other way. Her performance was flawless, or at least it would have been if not for what happened next. My lawyer stood up calmly, adjusting his tie before addressing the judge. Your Honor, may we present Exhibit D? Without waiting for a response, he pressed play on a small speaker placed on the table. The room fell silent as Alina's voice filled the space. He's so stupid, honestly. Why wouldn't I take advantage? He always feels guilty. I could burn down the apartment, and he'd still pay my phone bill. Every word hung in the air like poison gas. Alina froze mid-sob, her mouth agape. She looked around the room, searching for support, but there was none, only stares of disbelief and disgust. The judge leaned forward, her expression unreadable. Ms. Alina, she said sharply, is that true? Alina stammered, unable to form coherent sentences. Her facade crumbled completely when my lawyer revealed more evidence. Text messages where she mocked me, receipts showing fraudulent purchases under my name, and even bank statements proving her guilt. By the time he finished, Alina seemed ready to collapse. Her head dropped into her hands, and for the first time, her tears appeared genuine, not out of remorse, but sheer panic. The verdict came swiftly, $13,000 in restitution, all fraudulent debts cleared, and a formal warning against further misconduct. But the drama wasn't over yet. As the gavel struck, Alina bolted toward the exit, her heels clicking frantically against the marble floor. Before she could reach the doors, 2 police officers intercepted her. It turned out there was an outstanding warrant for her arrest related to another financial fraud case. She screamed, thrashing wildly as they cuffed her, but no one intervened. I watched silently as she was led away, her mascara-streaked face contorted with rage and humiliation. A strange mix of emotions washed over me, relief that justice had been served, sadness for the fractured bond we once shared, and pity for the person she had become. For years, I carried the weight of her lies. Now, finally, I was free. Yet, watching her disappear behind those heavy wooden doors, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow for both of us. After the dust settled from the lawsuit, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. I cut off all contact with my family. No texts, no calls, no holidays spent pretending everything was fine. At first, the silence was deafening, like stepping into an empty room where echoes used to bounce endlessly. But as days turned into weeks, something shifted. The silence wasn't oppressive anymore, it was mine. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to explain myself or justify my existence. No more proving I wasn't a disappointment. No more listening to guilt trips disguised as love. My apartment, once heavy with tension, now felt like a sanctuary. Every corner belonged to me, not to someone who called me a squatter behind my back. It was freedom, but not the kind you celebrate with fireworks. This was quieter, deeper, a peace earned through pain. A month later, the fragile calm shattered when an email popped up in my inbox. The subject line read, "Your sister isn't doing well." My stomach clenched as I opened it. Inside was a video clip sent by Tessa, one of Alina's old friends. She didn't waste words on pleasantries. The message was short and cold. She says you ruined her life. Thought you'd want to know. Attached was a video of Alina sitting alone in a cafe, mascara-streaked tears streaming down her face. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I've lost everything because of him. Her words should have stirred pity, or at least some lingering guilt, but they didn't. Instead, I saw what she truly was, unchanged, unrepentant. To her, I wasn't a person, I was a scapegoat for her failures. But the real twist came 2 weeks after that email. While cleaning out the closet, I stumbled upon something unexpected, an old journal wedged between boxes. Its pages were worn, filled with Alina's familiar scrawl. As I flipped through it, one entry stopped me cold. He's so easy to manipulate. He loves this family too much to ever say no. I'll keep using him until he stops caring. My hands shook as I read those words over and over again. They weren't written recently. They dated back years ago, long before the lawsuit, before the betrayal became undeniable. Yet here they were, proof that her actions had never been about desperation or survival. It was always calculated, always deliberate. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment, clutching the journal like it might burn me. A strange mix of emotions swirled inside me. Anger, sadness, relief, all colliding in a storm I couldn't quiet. But beneath it all was clarity. Alina hadn't changed because she couldn't change. People like her don't apologize. They adapt, finding new ways to exploit others while blaming them for their own misfortunes. And I realized then that cutting ties wasn't just about protecting myself. It was about refusing to be part of her narrative any longer. The next morning, I took the journal outside and set it on fire. Watching the pages curl and blacken felt symbolic, like burning away the last thread binding me to her. There would be no second chances, no softening of my resolve. I didn't owe her anything, not forgiveness, not understanding, not even hate. Those emotions were weights I refused to carry anymore. As the ashes scattered in the wind, I whispered the words I'd carried silently for months. You let go first. And for the first time, I believed them. 2 weeks ago, I received a package with no return address. The envelope inside was plain, almost unassuming, but what it held changed something in me. A photograph of Ellie, Alina's daughter, sitting on my shoulders years ago. She couldn't have been more than 4, her tiny hands gripping my face as she laughed, her joy frozen in time. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, were the words, "I'm sorry for how my mom treated you. Thank you for everything." For a moment, I just stared at the photo, my chest tightening. It wasn't guilt or regret that washed over me this time. It was clarity. This wasn't about tying me to the past. It was proof that walking away didn't mean giving up on love. It meant choosing where to direct it. I placed the photo carefully in my desk drawer, not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. Leaving someone behind doesn't erase the good you've done. Sometimes it amplifies it. But life has a way of testing your resolve even after you think you've moved on. Last night, during one of those torrential downpours that seemed to echo your innermost fears, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize flashed across the screen. My stomach clenched as I answered, already bracing myself for who might be on the other end. "Please," came Alina's voice, weak, trembling, and laced with desperation. "You need to help me. I don't know what else to do." Her tone was foreign, stripped of its usual bravado. For a split second, an old memory surfaced, the image of her laughing on FaceTime while wearing clothes bought with my money. I shook my head, forcing the thought away. This wasn't the same woman who had manipulated me for years. This was someone broken, someone begging. But so was I once, broken by her actions, by her lies. "I can't," I said softly, my voice steady despite the storm raging outside. "I loved you once, Alina. But now? Now I only love myself." There was silence on the other end, heavy and suffocating. Then, barely audible, she whispered, "You're cruel." "No," I replied, my tone firm yet calm. "What I did was survive. What you're doing now is trying to survive too. But I won't let you drag me back into your chaos. Not again." I hung up before she could respond, setting the phone down gently on the table. Outside, lightning illuminated the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder. Yet inside, I felt nothing but peace, a quiet, unshakable certainty that I'd made the right choice. Walking away hadn't been easy. There were nights when doubt crept in, whispering that maybe I was too harsh, too unforgiving. But forgiveness is an ode to those who refuse to change. And survival isn't selfish, it's necessary. That phone call wasn't a test of strength. It was validation that I'd built walls strong enough to withstand even her cries for help. As I sat there in the dim glow of my living room lamp, I realized something profound. Freedom isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to face it without crumbling. Alina would always be part of my story, but she no longer controlled its ending. For the first time, I understood what it truly meant to live. Not just exist, but thrive. This story taught me that love should never mean self-destruction. For years, I let guilt and obligation blind me, pouring everything I had into people who saw my kindness as weakness. Alina didn't just take my money. She stole my identity, my peace, and nearly my sense of worth. Cutting ties wasn't easy. It felt like ripping out a part of myself. But staying would have meant losing the rest of me entirely. The hardest lesson was realizing that forgiveness without boundaries is just enabling. Letting go wasn't revenge, it was survival. When I stopped sacrificing myself for others, I found freedom. That doesn't mean love ends. It means love shifts from them to me. Every battle I fought, every betrayal I endured, led to this truth. You can't save someone who refuses to see their own destruction. Sometimes, walking away isn't cruel. It's the bravest thing you'll ever do.